Welcome to the Blooming League of Original Podcasts.
G'day and welcome to an extra fantastic edition of Thrash and Treasure, the Torture Chamber musical comedy podcast, which left the good cop out in the rain so the bad cop can battle the beige cop and things got crazy. And speaking of crazy, I'm Aaron. God damn it, who writes this shit? Probably this guy. It's Matt the Quizmaster.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, you're in a different city now?
Yep, up here in Mackay on the Queensland coast.
Are you on holidays or is that for work? Or are you allowed to tell our listeners?
Yeah, no, I'm working for Central Queensland University lecturing in theatre and acting.
Oh, wow. So you can school all the children at home. But anyways, guess what?
What?
We have an exquisitely gifted diva in the orchestra pit today, and since Kanye couldn't rap on without a harp, I can't harp on without a rap. All right, so stop, collaborate, and listen to this insanely incredible career, which has taken this Kentucky Fried Chicken babe off and on Broadway onto screens of screenplays she wrote, plus some of the world's biggest stages, with a charity single alongside the world's biggest artists. And not only is she an enterprising Trekkie famous for playing the harp, this heralded angel sings, acts, writes, and reigns supreme as the queen band geek, because she's all about that bass, electric bass, upright bass, no treble, close but ooh guitar, and fiddle and flute, but theremin lies the key, bordering on a one-icon orchestra with one-seat percussion that drums home her remarkable and very particular set of skills. Plus accordion to her resume, she can rock the saxophone, perm, double feature. And I have no idea what a hammered dulcimer is, but apparently it's a thing, and she plays that too. And I heard there's purty lardy plurs the hurdy-gurdy, and bird sure is very good, cur. And from the hurdy of the gurdy through the icy of the bergy to starboard of thy Titanic on Broadway, that ship, like a cradle, will rock, like the legacy of Barubash. So she made us Lulu look twice in cabaret, then did a deal with the devil in Randy Newman's Faust, but Faust she paid her dues and rent for a workshop that led to Spring Awakenings for a little night music from today's chosen musical. So on this clear blue Tuesday morning, I'm so glad to beam her up to another world with Dave Chappelle showing a huge Aussie g'day as we cling on a hearty R, which tugs on the heartstrings like the harp of this pirate Jane girl inventor who could tempt us fugitives to the world of Niku with a Midsummer Night's Dream date with a dark daddy. Oh, yes, please. Because I see a great city at the end of the honky-tonk highway, past the field of pretty flowers and four-leaf clover. So it's our lucky night of the hunter here in Harptown. Don me now a gay flannelette for a between-the-sheets pajama party fit for Martha Wainwright and Eleanor Rigby. So leave it in the soup and toss your vapor as we welcome to the forest chamber this one-of-a-kind glacier of talent who never fades to white, only red-hot, whose delicately fragile vocals can melt a boss or bring the frost as desired, or else she might let it snow. So I let us know that none of us are worthy of this truly original harp oddity who will leave you breathless after a game of tennis or running up that hill because she is the ever-rising, peak geek and high and rolling, the dangerously enjoyable Lady Erin Hill. Yay! Welcome to the Torture Chamber. Goodness gracious me, that was a long hill to climb.
Thank you, Aaron. I felt like I was just on This Is Your Life.
Yes, that's the whole point of it is
The list of things I had completely forgotten about. I don't even know where you dug up some of those names. They must live somewhere in the dark corners of the internet.
Yep, but it is all there online, and I just take what I find and I'd have fun with it, basically, and I make a stupid sentence out of it.
You'd be surprised what we can find out about you.
Yaaayyy.
We do a lot of deep digging on this show because we want to find out the interesting stuff. But goodness gracious me, your career. And now I've just thrown the sheet that I need. So just give me 2 seconds. It is this one. You have been incredibly busy. Do you maybe need to steal a talking harp from a giant?
Oh, yeah. Then the talking harp could sing harmony with me. I'm a little afraid of heights, but I could get past that, climbing up.
Yeah, you're a Trekkie. Get in a spaceship. That's what you got to do.
Oh, I'm a Trekkie.
Excellent.
Oh, okay, yeah. I could just beam myself up to the giant, grab the talking harp, beam myself out.
Is that true?
Brilliant.
Is what
that
true?
You are a Trekkie? Because that was on your Wikipedia page.
Is it true?
Okay,
oh my
it definitely
God.
is. Tell by the face, it's definitely true. Wikipedia can sometimes be correct, people.
Have you any doubts about that? Go to YouTube, look for a Star Trek blind date.
Ooh.
Okay? And that's a scene that I wrote with my friend Chris Orbach. And we did it in that movie, Clear Blue Tuesday, that you mentioned. And the director let me take that scene out and put it on my YouTube channel. So Star Trek Blind Date on Erin Hill Harp is my, yes. And that will prove beyond the shadow of a doubt how deep I am a Trekker.
Now, the only time I hear the harp is at sea. So have you sailed the 7 seas or just the 8th sea?
No, I have not done any sailing once I got asked to play on the QE2.
Oh, wow.
But I was going to be gone too long, and, I didn't want to be away from my puppies, and my puppy at the time. Now I have 2 dogs, but then I had my one dog, McLeod the Westie, McLeod of the Clan McLeod, who is my frequent co-star in my music videos, so you may have seen him.
Yeah.
I have a silly question about taking a harp to sea. Does the humidity affect the instrument greatly?
Never done it, no idea. But humidity, yes. Totally. Yeah, humidity and temperature. So if you're all tuned up in somewhere and then somebody opens the door and lets in cold blasts of air, gotta tune it all up again. When I recorded the Game of Thrones promo for HBO, we shot outside. I was, in a big fur thing, but my fingers were freezing, and I was not finger syncing. I was playing the theme live, and it was, oh my gosh, that was rough.
Now, also, you mentioned the Game of Thrones promo for HBO. That is a testament, Erin, to I can't fathom how incredible your career is, that I had to literally cut out the Game of Thrones joke because it just did not fit of all the things. And I'm going through and I'm like, oh shit, I have to cut that out and I have to cut this out. And it's, it is awful, but I know that I can bring things up during the episode and stuff like that. And I'm trying to make a cohesive speech, but yeah, it's just, that's a testament to what you have accomplished across the field in your career and different mediums as well. I am absolutely flabbergasted. You hear that, people out there? I cut Game of Thrones, so come at me on Twitter. Anyways,
I was just gonna say, you packed a lot in, Erin. You've definitely packed a lot in with diverse performances, from acting, singing, playing multiple instruments, appearing on our screens and on our stages.
And writing.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah. I've really focused on the harp now. So I still play, it's keyboards occasionally and bass, but I'm about the harp now because it is the best of all the instruments. So.
And as I said to you, there are only a handful of harpists in the world, but there are 1,000,001 podcasts. So it stands out when you walk into an atrium of a cruise ship and the harpist is on, Anyways, speaking of ships, we'll move on to metal now. I guess they're fiberglass or metal. I don't know. Rockstar Rider. You are a bit of a rock star, let's face it. If you could have put anything, any ridiculous thing on the ultimate Rockstar Rider, what would you put on there?
Wow, I've never been asked that before. How about perfectly ripe avocados and bananas that have the faintest brown spots on them, just starting?
Excellent. I mean, yes, the tester for that would have to be, very, very versed in their avocados and bananas.
Yes, I think they would have to split them in half and make sure they looked okay. I don't know how to tell from the outside. You can go through 12 and it's just like... So, yeah, they'd need an expert. They'd need to hire an expert for me.
And, of course, they could make guacamole if it didn't work out. If they weren't up to your rider's standards, it'd just be a big pot of guacamole.
Yeah, that's not going to cut it.
You feed that to the roadies.
Fine, yes, for the rest of the band. But for me, yeah, I need the actual sliced avocado.
You're going to throw the harp, be like... No.
I'm not going on until I get my ripe avocado. That's what we want to hear. Yeah.
Take the guacamole.
Brilliant.
Push.
All right. Now, have you had much experience with heavy metal?
No,
You're not a headbanger.
no.
Well, you did pick the album this week, and you picked David Bowie's Ziggy Stardust
The Rise and Fall.
and the Rise and Fall of
Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust.
and the Spiders from Mars.
Yes.
So I did know a bit of David Bowie. I grew up with the Labyrinth, or not the Labyrinth, it's Labyrinth.
Labyrinth.
Yeah, there's no the.
In my Harp Oddity show, I do As the World Falls Down.
I love that movie. I just love that line. It's so stimulating being your hat. It's just so stupid. I love it. So random. But anyways, I love that movie growing up. And I knew Heroes, I knew Under
Yeah.
Pressure, and I knew Fame as well. I didn't know this album.
Wow.
I know. I'm 38, Erin. How have I gone through life?
The gasps.
How have I gone through life without hearing this album?
I don't know.
I've heard every Kelly Clarkson album, but I've never heard
Oh, no.
The Rise and Fall.
No,
I love
no.
Kelly Clarkson. I will stand by that, but I know everyone out there will groan. Like, how on earth?
That's fine, but not instead of
I know.
David Bowie. Okay.
I know. It's
All right.
like, how have you done that, but not this? Like, idiot. Anyways, we're going to move on because I'm going to read my review and see what I thought. In deciding to cover The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust, I was a little hesitant as I presumed I would know half the album already. And upon skimming through the album, only 3 tracks stood out: Moonage, Starman, and Suffragette City. But is 3 too many for me to come in without pre-bias? Well, I know what it looks like for a cartoon rat to be smashed over the head with an oversized harp, so I shut my mouth and pressed liftoff on the Spotify, and here are my thoughts. 5 years, with a chilled, slower pace than I'm used to with Bowie, it took nearly 5 years to get through, until his passion started to rise and elevated the song. And then Soul Love sounded vaguely familiar, most likely having been a needle drop somewhere, and I don't mean the audience. It Ain't Easy lied and started out easily, before kicking in with a bluesy country flavour which felt a bit too loud when juxtaposed versus the quiet verses. Lady Stardust also felt familiar, but sadly not as glamorous as its namesake. Star started and I felt seen, and as soon as the vocals started, I felt at home for the first time so far on this galactical album. Hang On To Yourself had a pre-punk rock and roll flavor, my favorite. Surprisingly, Ziggy Stardust only rang a vaguely familiar. Lastly, Rock and Roll Suicide also rang as familiar, but as a concept, not a song. Overall, this half-glam, half-prog exploration of varying drug types left me in part thrilled, but often antsy, given the amount of slower moments. Maybe a drop of quirk or acid may have lifted this classic off the ground for me. Although the songs I loved, I really, really loved. Mostly Suffragette City, but you can thank Mary Poppins for that. 3.5, 4 stars. Like, yeah, but that's out of 5. I know the value here. Like, the songwriting is terrific, but in terms of a prog rock album, it didn't take me on a trip like I really want prog rock to do.
I have never heard it called prog rock. I don't think David Bowie's prog rock.
I got a, don't you think? I got a prog rock
No, he's
vibe
not.
from it.
No,
Oh, although
no.
that puts me in my place.
Absolutely
You
not.
are the
Nope.
extreme professional. I am a nobody. I know it's glam, definitely glam, but I because that's like the feeling I felt from prog rock is a little bit antsy, like just hurry up and get a bit cheerier, I guess. I could imagine in the 70s, people got very, 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 very stoned to this on a Sunday afternoon, laying on their back lawn, and it would have worked in that context.
Let me tell you, I've never done a drug in my life. I've never smoked a cigarette of any kind. I have never, ever touched any drug. And I love this album. I love it. How about the very first track, 5 years? Let's take 5 years. It starts on this journey. We find out, the news guy wept and told us, Earth has 5 years left. And then we go through and we see how the people of the world react. And all these little stories with every mention of every person. And then the anguish of the, finally, when we get to that chorus, I mean, we've got 5 years. The emotion of that, that's like an Academy Award-winning movie, just that song. And that's the start of the album.
Yeah.
You're done with that, and you're just like, holy shit.
I don't know. I guess I'm a very excitable guy. So I was really hoping for something to kick us off, because the songs I know of David Bowie aren't that slow. I've never heard him sing that slow before.
So if you only like fast songs,
No, it's not that. Well, I do have a problem with ballads, but I guess it was sort of just what I was used to, and then stepping into it. For me, it took a while to get into.
but did you listen to the lyrics and hear that specific story, for example, of even the first track? Did you know?
No.
You didn't know what it was about. If I had asked you, you couldn't have told me what 5 years was about. So you needed to get on a different day when you're
Yes.
not expecting like 10 suffragette cities.
Yes.
That's what I think.
Well, or even
Yes.
if not that, just maybe a bit more range, I guess. As I say, like some songs would start off slow and then picked up, and I liked that. But I guess the slow start, I was just like, just hurry up and get into the, and that's totally on me, and that's why I didn't mark it lower.
And I guess you don't like Nirvana then, because how about do 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 and then whoa 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 for the chorus? So
I don't
Yeah.
listen to them. I don't listen to them.
okay.
But remember, I've heard every Kelly Clarkson album and single and release and duet that she's ever done.
I rest my case.
Love her. Love her. I will fight for the today.
Rest my case.
And every Spice Girls. Anyways. No, but I love what I know of David Bowie. I absolutely love. So it's not, again, it is totally on me. It's not him, it's me. I've just broken up with him. It's not you, it's me. Sorry, Bowie.
You got to listen to it like a original cast recording of a show, where you're gonna like have your turntable and put the needle on and turn the music down and really lean into it. Yeah. And I guess we used to do that a lot, back in my day when I was a young whippersnapper, where you would just sit there with that turntable going, and just
Yes.
the music low and just really leaning into it, and then picking up that needle and dropping it back to hear it again.
Another thing is, many songs, you like them better the more times you hear them, and you get deeper insight into them the more times you hear them, and just you get to appreciate them more and like them more. It was interesting because you said, oh, I like those songs I recognized, because you've heard them before. So when you hear them again,
Yeah.
you like them better than the ones you're hearing for the first time.
Yeah, the album definitely picked up. From It Ain't Easy onwards, my eyebrows were raised a lot more, but it was the first.
Sorry, my eyes are rolling, but that's
That's
it.
fine. That's what this show is for. And I tell
Okay.
everybody out there, throw me all the sass you need to, because I welcome it, basically. I welcome it. But I do have to approach this honestly and how I go with this. And remember, two of the songs that I knew were from the start of the album. So those two were taken out. So it was a shorter first half than it was the second half.
Which songs? I forgot which songs you knew.
I knew Starman
Okay, that's in my show.
and I knew Moon Age Daydream.
Moon Age Daydream, both those songs are in my Harp Oddity show.
Them I know, and they're a little bit more mid-tempo than the slower ones that were on here. So I guess I knew the singles. I knew the hits, which is the case a lot of the times.
How about, have you ever listened to Bauhaus? They had a huge hit with the cover of Ziggy Stardust. Did you
Oh, yeah.
ever see the movie The Hunger with Catherine Deneuve and David Bowie?
No.
Fantastic movie. Go watch it. Bauhaus's song Bela Lugosi is Dead featured in that movie. Excellent song.
Bela Lugosi
Just
is
as
dead.
an aside.
I think I know a punk cover of that song.
Nothing could match Bauhaus's definitive version.
What was it called?
The Hunger.
The Hunger.
Incredible movie.
Great movie. I'm a huge horror buff. In addition to being a sci-fi geek, I'm a horror maven as
Yeah.
well.
Oh, awesome.
Yes.
Fantastic. Do you like the slashers?
No.
Do you like the other horrors?
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, like I couldn't deal with, Friday the 13th or any of those. But the other ones I was like,
No, I can appreciate them, but that's not my thing, slashers. I like true horror. Some of my favorites, Burnt Offerings from the 70s with
Okay.
Karen Black. That's a great one.
oh, Karen Black.
Here's a movie that people don't necessarily think of as horror, but is one of my favorites, Frailty.
Frailty.
You can look that up. That's a really good horror film.
Yeah.
I really like that. Of course, I love The Shining and Rosemary's Baby,
Yeah.
as everyone knows, but those are in my top 10 too. I could watch them over and over and over again. In fact, I just reread Ira Levin's Rosemary's Baby, the book, and now I'm reading Ira Levin's Stepford Wives. Oh, they're just like Dessert.
So if we're talking your top 10 favorite movies of all time, is horror in the top 10? Like, are several of them horror?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I'm the same. I
Mhm.
mean, I'd say like Night of the Living Dead and Carrie are probably in my top 10 movies of all time, possibly Jaws as well.
Carrie, that's me.
Well, I didn't want to say anything, but
Yes,
it's a little bit of resemblance there.
that's me. Totally.
Do you know who was absolutely gorgeous? Piper Laurie.
I love Piper Laurie.
She was a bombshell when she was growing up, and some of her photos were a little bit naughty for the 50s. Tell you what, she would have gotten cancelled and slut shamed, something chronic back then. But God, you look at them now and you're like, holy crap, Piper Laurie. Goodness me, why isn't her name thrown about like Rita Hayworth is and Marilyn Monroe? Piper Laurie, God damn it. Piping hot, more like it. Anyway, sorry.
Love her. Love her.
Yeah, no, anyways, back to Bowie. Like, I can see it. I do see it, and I heard it lyrically. Just in terms of musically, I guess I maybe my body wasn't there, and maybe I'm just so worn out that.
Listen again in the future.
Yeah. So that's why I do actually want to revisit some albums in the future, the metal albums, and see how have I gone now compared to back then when I had first listened to it, and it didn't take as well. But now, Matt,
Yes.
what did you think of this album?
I mean, again, like Suffragette City is such a amazing classic. There's a really great cover. I don't know if you've ever heard. There's an Australian artist named Paul Capsis, who's a cabaret singer, and he does a version of Suffragette City that just like makes me really happy. Yeah, and again, like I said, I mean, this whole album, it's that sort of experience. You know, I grew up in the 80s, so there were lots and lots of weeknights spent listening to Broadway cast albums or listening to, things such as this with that on that turntable in the basement rec room. I grew up in Massachusetts, so, in the northeast coast of America. And it's just that was this thing on that it's the red shag carpet sort of, sit on your couch that's been in your house for many, many, many years. It's funny, I'm the same, Erin, that I didn't, I'm not really like a drug, someone who does any sort of drug and listens to music. And we used to just like lie there, like me and all my high school friends, I guess we were, the band geeks and the theater geeks, and just like listen. So yeah, so this is a real nostalgia trip for me, and just makes me happy.
Yeah, I grew up in the 80s too. And I remember in college, there was a party and there was a turntable, and I was at somebody's apartment, and, there weren't many of us there, like maybe 20. And I sat by the turntable and I picked out this album. I put the album on, and just every time it would come to the end, I'd turn it over. When it would come to the end of that, I'd turn it back. I did it like, the entire night for hours, just that album.
That was me with Spice and Spice World. Sorry. I had to throw it in there and just disappoint everybody, didn't I? Because I heard the mood just suddenly go, come on, the Spice Girls are legendary. We know it. Anyways, I'm trying to find my segues.
We're just leaving you. You're struggling. We're just like, we're just gonna sit here and watch you look for those segues.
Keep talk amongst yourselves for a minute.
I'm like, you can edit it out.
Yeah, we will. Just Harp Oddity.
Yes.
Could you tell our listeners a little bit about that?
Yeah, I debuted my Harp Oddity show in 2019, and I have a 9-piece band, and I sing and play the songs of David Bowie. And I have a video up from the show of my version of Rebel Rebel. And you can see I have, some cool David Bowie makeup. It was just so much fun because I've loved Bowie forever. To be able to do the show and then do my arrangements of his music. I start the show with a number with just me and the harp, which is Life on Mars. And I have to tell you, so most people don't know how the harp works, but there are pedals. There's 7 pedals at the bottom, and each pedal has 3 different positions. Okay, so you work them with your feet, and each string on the harp can be 3 different pitches, depending on where I move its corresponding pedal. So for example, here's the D string. If I have the D pedal on here, it's a D flat. Move it to here, it becomes a D natural. Move it to here, same string becomes a D sharp. So Life on Mars my feet are just like this the whole time. It's such an insanely hard song on the harp. The piano's so easy. Everything's right there. You got all your notes, you just play them. With the harp, it's like three-dimensional chess in Star Trek. It's crazy, even crazier.
I was picturing Riverdance move happening during this.
Yeah, but I'm doing Riverdance, plus I'm trying to play all of this and sing it. But so I start with that, and then I add my band in, and then, some numbers have all the, the 9-piece band, and but it's just so much fun. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
You'd have to warm up your vocals, your hands, and your feet as well.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Goodness gracious. So you wouldn't want to pull a
Yes.
muscle playing the harp because, you're in this old classy affair. I don't think the audience would appreciate that one. Not some of the audiences I've seen.
Do you have a strong physio routine and a strong massage routine to help you with all of these?
I should get massages regularly right here, because when you're playing the harp, your arms are always up.
Yeah.
It's not the piano. Also, another reason the piano is so easy. Your arms are down. You just play and it's easy. And the harp, you're like, oh, it's kind of like, violinists have the same problem. Flute players that all have that same. But yeah, put that in my rider. Masseuse.
Yes.
With avocado.
Yes.
An avocado rub masseuse.
Absolutely.
Well, that's it. All right. Well, anyways, I'll move us along. It looks like Ziggy was a vampire and now he's dust. So we're going to slay an ad break. I've no idea what that has to do with David Bowie, but that's the segue I thought of.
He played a vampire in The Hunger.
Oh, it was perfect segue, wasn't it? Anyways. G'day, listeners. Aaron here. We thought we'd better send a spy to Broadway to check out the shows for us. So here for today's review is our Broadway spy, Spencer.
And now we have an off-Broadway show. We have the 2019 production of Little Shop of Horrors off-Broadway at the West Side Theater upstairs. Now, just because I say off-Broadway might make you think that it's lower quality, and you would be wrong. This is one of the most fun shows in the city. It is a rejuvenated production off-Broadway where this show should be. This show does not belong in a large Broadway theater. It's in a 250-seat theater, and it is wonderful. The production opened with Christian Borle as the dentist, Tammy Blanchard as Audrey, and Jonathan Groff as Seymour. You have the current cast of Rob McClure as Seymour, Brad Oscar as Mr. Mushnick, and Lena Hall as Audrey, and it is just a lot of fun. They've had a cast of all-star Seymours go in there. They've had Skylar Astin, Gideon Glick, Jeremy Jordan, Rob McClure, Conrad Ricamora, and up next you have Tony Award winner Matt Doyle, who just won a Tony for Company, going into the role of Seymour. This production is so much fun. It is for everyone. It's about a man-eating plant. What could go wrong? Go see Little Shop of Horrors off-Broadway.
We're back with Thrash and Treasure. I'm Aaron, that's Matt, and we are joined by multi-dimensional artiste Erin Hill, and we are just flabbergasted listening to Erin talk about playing the harp. Like, I can barely rub my tummy and pat my head at the same time, let alone this. Although I used to be able to stilt walk and juggle at the same time, but that's another matter.
Ooh, that's impressive.
I can do that too.
Oh,
I can juggle and walk on stilts. Yeah.
All
is
right.
there anything you can't do?
No, I quit. See you later, kids. I'm out. Bye.
I'm not surprised.
I've said it many times on this show that having more than one skill, excelling in more than one thing is the key to succeeding in this industry. Because when you work with people and they find out that you can do this thing, they tell someone else. When you're fun to work with and they like working with you, they tell someone else who needs that thing. And then you get another job doing that thing. So learn as many skills as you can. Goodness gracious me. But anyways.
The stilt walking with the juggling, is this something you've had to do professionally, or is this just something you do for fun?
Okay. I really don't walk on stilts anymore. I did it one time in my life, okay, when I was a teenager, and it was really fun. I've never done it since then. Juggling, I've juggled my whole life. My dad taught me. He was an expert juggler, and I have juggled in the movie Clear Blue Tuesday. And I juggled on stage in Midsummer Night's Dream at Classic Stage Company, which I did with Bebe Neuwirth and Christina Ricci and Taylor Mack. And I juggled in a scene and song, actually during a song with Taylor. I guess I did all the juggling. We didn't do any juggling back and forth, but yeah. So I have done it on stage and screen.
There you go.
Oh, wow. Now, have you found, since you juggle, right, and I juggle as well, that your catching and your aiming is like spot on every time you throw something to a bin?
Yes.
You see, I keep telling people, learn to juggle and your aim will be spot on.
Kleenex, you
Yep.
know, you name it. Yeah.
That's it. Because you learn that hand and eye coordination and yes. Puppy dog, what's the other dog's name? I know it was McLeod and...
This is Valentine. Valentine,
lovely.
you can see in my Eleanor Rigby video,
Yep.
which, by the way, has now won awards in over 50 film festivals across the
wow.
world.
Wow.
And the Eleanor Rigby single has also been heard on SiriusXM, the Beatles channel. But Valentine is in that video. She has a little cameo.
I'll link to that in the description below. Now we're going to move on to the Fantasticks now, which is the musical that you did off Broadway. Now you did the 2005 or 6 revival.
Yes, and before that, I had been a sub down on Sullivan Street where the Fantasticks had started out in the 60s, and it had run there for a super long time. So when I got to New York, I started subbing harp there, and then it closed briefly. And then when they reopened it, they asked me to be the harpist, and then I'm on the soundtrack.
Now, Matt, you have reviewed this because you didn't know this at all. Neither did I, actually. I had absolutely no clue. I knew the Joel Grey movie existed. I just never got around to seeing it. So this long-running musical, us people have been in musical theatre for how many years, Matt?
Yeah, I've been in it for a while, for about 30 years. So, yeah,
same here, like 60, 70 years between us. Nevers. But remember, Spice Girls and Kelly Clarkson. Anyways. All right, Matt, I'll let you take the mic and sit back.
Well, I wasn't a complete novice to Fantastics. I mean, you know, again, because of the record, because of the era of record albums, it's one of those that has one of those album covers that you totally recognize. So it's something that I would have walked past a million times, probably heard, but not known what it was. And so, so this was an awesome opportunity to get to know it better. Now, my style of reviewing isn't quite as precise as Erin. Again, like, I don't remember even knowing that there was a harp in the Fantastic. So, like, you know, I thought it was a 2-piano sort of show, you know, or a single piano and the vocalist. So I was delighted when I started to listen to the overture to just hear how much the instruments set the characteristics of the show and, you know, and really set up the show. And you know exactly what you're going to get from the word go with this overture. And then, of course, we go into the classic Try to Remember, which, of course, I would have known if I hadn't known it from the context of this. Beautiful singing voice there. That was from Burke Moses, who, again, I had vague memories of Gaston and all this sort of stuff in the back of my mind from my musical theater nerdiness. This was like the big surprise about this album was the monologue. So we get into Louise's monologue right away. And this is where I started to really notice the harp. I mean, for me, listening to this album, the harp is the essence of Louise's spirit. It speaks, you know, with her and for her, which was so exciting. Then moving into much more, which I thought the title was Just Once. I was like, oh, this is called Once More. She just keeps saying Just Once. But I mean, really, this is where the harp establishes itself as the extension of Louisa at this point, which is just absolutely stunning. And then the lyrics in Metaphor started to take center stage for me now that I was sort of settling into it and really listening to those words again. And I noticed, you know, You Are September. And I was like, oh, it's harkening back to that first song. And then, I love this one. The microscopic insides of a leaf is one of the lyrics, which I was like, ooh, like, this is so poetic. Of course, then, you know, you get further into it and I'll marry when I marry, that all of a sudden I noticed it was like Shakespeare or even Dr. Seuss in a strange way. You know, like, we don't often put Dr. Seuss and Shakespeare in the same sort of category of poeticism, but there was...
Well, I don't know if I agree there.
Okay.
Some of Shakespeare's wittier proses are very much the groundbreaking for people like Dr. Seuss. I think his wordplay, definitely. Anyway, sorry, I'm shutting up.
Yeah, and I was, because again, like, the whole thing is very much, I couldn't help but thinking of, and I'm sure that it's not intentional, Midsummer Night's Dream and Pyramus and Thisbe, and it's the same story essentially, the chink in the wall and all that sort of business. And so then I was like, oh, okay, so it's like super clever. Like I was like, not only musically am I having this incredible journey, but like lyrically, the influence is becoming so clear. Then we're getting into the dads. And again, like all these voices, I'm going, wait a minute, I think I've heard some of these voices before. So this is like Martin Vidvik and Joe Burmeister, I think, at this point. Leo Burmeister, sorry. Yeah. And again, like just these people that I had seen and heard in other places and just not really, I just had no idea how well I knew him, which is so exciting. And of course, like in Never Say No, there's another great lyric. The diction was amazing and the dynamics. So again, like listening to this album, like as a musical theater person, I'm going, and as someone who's teaching music theater right now, I'm going, oh my goodness, this is like the ultimate, like for diction. The clarity was so beautiful. And this is something that, I just saw Hamilton and I was complaining to one of my friends that I couldn't understand some of the cast members because it's, again, there's so many words. And I was like, oh, diction. I'm going to go back and tell those students they have to be very clear with their diction. And of course, they get to say jam all over the cat, which I thought was very funny. Like some of the funny things that they bring out in that. I did want to go back to It Depends on What You Pay, which, is back very much like the harp plays a very interesting role in this one because this song is, sort of about Louisa. And so all of a sudden that characteristic of the harp reappears again. And of course, there's like exotic sounds in there with the harp where you're taken to a different place, but then it's brought back to very classical. And so I just thought that shape shifting within it was just absolutely exciting. And I noted, because I seem to remember this song having a different lyric when I first heard it.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
So
it's called the Rape Song.
It was called the Rape Song. And I noticed it's now the abduction.
Yes. The rape of Lucretia, and in the classical sense, rape was all used so much and in mythology.
There's still the lyric of perform the rape ballet, which again, harkens back to what you just said, this sort of classical context of it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But, then all of a sudden we're into the next speech after that, and we hear a very different sound from El Gallo. All of a sudden, like this person who's been this sort of romantic presence becomes real for us, like really settles into it, which is really lovely. Soon It's Gonna Rain, for me, it was almost like a Joni Mitchell song, like in the minorness for something that is so hopeful is, again, a great storytelling technique. Yeah, I guess, then it starts to flip over. It's this beautiful thing where if you fold the show in half musically, it's that beautiful, it's not a Rorschach in any way. It's just like, I love logic. So I love, my straight lines and my symmetry.
Patterns that make sense.
Yes.
Sorry, go.
Yes.
Yes, I get it. I get that. Totally get that.
And of course, we're close to the end of the act again. And then we're, being introduced to new characters as well. I don't know if they're new because I haven't seen the show, but, like on the soundtrack, we hear the voice for the first time of the actor who wants to die, I think, with the English accent, or I'm not really sure who that was, but
Henry is the character.
Henry, okay. Yeah. In the abduction ballet I'm up to now, we've got all this incredible Foley. So I don't know. I thought that was so much fun, like listening to the click, click, click of the wooden swords or whatever that could have been.
I do in Plum. Mm-hmm. This plum is too ripe. I do that on the harp.
Oh, do you?
Actually, you know what? At one point I knocked on the harp for it, but I think I did claves for the recording.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's awesome. Did you do like a lot of, was that the only percussive sort of noises you make on the album?
Oh, they're different things. Like there's this one where it makes a strange noise. You have the tuning key and you put it on the string and you pluck the harp and it goes beep, like that.
Oh, wow. You are the Peter Frampton of harpists.
Boy.
Oh, wow. That is awesome. Yes.
We finally got to what I imagine is the end of Act 1, and all of a sudden I was like, crikey, there's a lot of tracks on this recording. So it's good bang for your buck, folks. If you
just so you know, This Plum Is Too Ripe is the beginning of the second act. Because see, the first act, sorry, we got a siren here. The first act is a fairy tale and wonderful, and then you pull the curtain back and see, okay, what happens after? And they lived happily ever after. That's Act 2. The boy and girl get together. Yay! Happy ending. We've been going through the whole story, and that's usually where the story ends. And then second half is, Okay, actually, life goes on.
And at the end of the act one, is there an amazing harp run that sort of ends the act? Is that right?
Oh boy, I don't remember exactly.
Yeah, I think there's an amazing
Okay.
act run around where I thought it's at the end of Happy Ending. So I was like, oh,
Happy Ending is the end of Act One.
yeah. So anyway, so I won't go so in depth into Act Two. So we're at The Plum is Too Ripe, and it started, and I noticed immediately the lack of the harp. When Louisa starts the song, and it's not until Matt comes in that we are introduced to the harp again. And so again, like we're talking about like the intricacies. Oh, okay, is that where that's where the
I'm claveing. Yeah.
Right. But like the intricacies of the storytelling that you had this hopeful Louisa, with that was all about beautiful sounds of the harp, and then you're hearing this vocal, and for me it's a noticeable, like, wait, something is really off here.
It's not as pretty. It's not as,
yeah, and such a contrast as soon as it's going to rain. And then I can see it. I mean, again, like once we got into the song, I really recognized it, but the beginning of it, with this sort of like spiritualness and this different vocal timbre from both of the men was super exciting as well. So again, like it's really, as someone who's studied musicals and as someone who is a musician myself and loves diction and dynamic and everything, that the excellence of this composition is really exciting. If you can't tell, I really love this. I love this cast recording.
Oh wow! Oh good.
Yeah. And then in an episode, so it says that Tom Jones is in the song, which confused me. Is he in the show, or did he just sort of the composer?
Tom Jones is the lyricist and book writer, and he was in the show with us as Henry. Yep. How amazing is that?
That is absolutely amazing. So he's the lyricist. And then, of course, there's that sort of somewhere that happens in the middle of that. This is so specific, but like somewhere. And there's this sort of, vocal, tribute to another famous song, which I thought was really delightful. So now I'm up to Plant a Radish, and I was like, oh, it sounds like maybe Erin gets a little bit of a rest. And then I was like, oh, nope, here she is again. She's very busy is what I wrote down at this point in the review. Yeah, and then of course we get to the much more reprise. How do we say that word? Never know.
Take your pick.
Reprise is what I say.
I say reprise. Tomato.
Having grown up in America and now living in Australia, I get confused about certain words. I'm like, how did we used to say it, or how do we say it? Of course, I haven't lost my American accent, so I don't really know what my excuse is. But again, now I started to notice it sounded like the harp was back on Louisa's side in this section, which I thought was very interesting.
Yeah, it's just harp on that reprise, no piano on that, and you can't tell this listening to the album, but I timed the very end as she climbs up to sit next to El Gallo, and so when her butt touches the seat is when my last harmonic comes.
Yes, I actually wrote there, and then I put / the note ! Which is that.
There we go.
She goes up and it's the brink. But it also shows some sympathy towards El Gallo at this point as well, which I thought was really interesting, because he's, sort of this Faustian, sort of character, and sort of like he's in the tree. He's the snake in the tree, and, and sort of tempting her. And so I just, again, like the intricacy is just quite beautiful. I will jump to the end and just say that, again, like I'm just amazed by the intricacies of the entire thing. I loved at the end that we revisited sort of the beginning. It was sort of like the show starts all over again with the curtain call music. You're brought back to the beginning. So even if you've seen the show before, or this story because it's such a classic story, as an audience, we go on this journey where we want to go see a familiar story, and we hope every time that it's going to change, that the outcome's not going to be, that the tragedy is not going to happen. It's like listening to the Peter and the Wolf, the orchestra thing when you're a kid, and you listen to it over and over and over again, and you're like, oh my goodness, is Peter going to be, is Peter going to be safe? Is the duck going to be okay? But then again, we get to the end, and it's sort of like the overture again. My score is it out of 5? Are we going out of 5 or out of 10? Yes, it's a 5 out of 5. I mean, this is a must listen to for anybody who is a musical theater student and who is a fan of musical theater. Beautifully composed, the lyrics incredible, the diction, the music direction, and the harp. I mean, what can we say?
Yeah. And some great audition songs because it is the music on it. It's not a full orchestra, so you can actually learn the songs that are on the album. So I want to bring up that the abduction ballet or the rape ballet. This is another thing that we keep talking about on this show, that this show wasn't made for today's audience. So therefore the language in that is not the same as what it was being made. And it's all good, well, and say, oh, well, let's change the art. Look, we had this discussion in last episode in terms of Dr. Seuss changing his work compared to now.
Right. Yeah. And Roald Dahl too.
Hang on, who did I say?
Oh, no, you said Dr. Seuss, but also Roald Dahl.
Roald Dahl, that's who I meant to say.
Yeah.
A little bit tired. Yeah, him changing it is the artist changing their work. It's not people down the track who want to make money from it who change it so that they can make money from it. So I do think there is a little bit of a difference to Roald Dahl changing his work to make it more palatable because he's the artist.
But he's dead.
Well, that's it. Therefore, we should leave it alone. We should respect the artist.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We don't go up to the Mona Lisa and paint eyebrows on her because today we think she should have eyebrows.
Right.
If he wanted eyebrows on that, he had plenty of time before he died to paint eyebrows on that. Once he died, that was it. That art is locked. In my opinion, everyone has their own opinion. But in terms of having it as rape ballet, I don't think people should be changing it because when you walk into an audience, even if you're seeing a show in 2023, right? Doesn't matter when that, you're not seeing a show that was made for 2023. And even a show that premieres in 2023, as we discussed last week, started writing it 10 years ago. So it's being made for the past 10 years. It's not being made for today. And you don't need to see yourself in something. You don't have to. That's not the key to enjoying art, is not to see yourself in it. It's meant to challenge you. Art is meant to challenge you, full stop.
I agree.
Yep, awesome. That's what I just wanted to get that off my chest because I didn't get that in last episode. Also, the story here in terms of the happily ever after at Act One, it is a precursor to Into the Woods in that respect.
Right.
I think that they can't. I'm not saying it's copying, obviously, because it was made 20 something years beforehand, so it was a precursor to. I'm not saying Sondheim copied either, because it's just a storytelling device. These two musicals chose to do it. Others didn't. But yeah, okay, so I liked it. I'd never heard it before. Didn't know the songs. Totally new experience for me. I'd probably give it around a 4 as well, the same as David Bowie. But I would want to see it visualized because I do have a problem paying attention to lyrics. I make no secret about that because my mind is going all over the place. So I'm also listening to the music and the emotion I'm getting from the music. How is the music telling this story here? But it's just not really done here. I've never seen it done.
That's surprising. That's really surprising.
They did it at the Hayes a few years ago with Martin Cruz, actually.
Ah, okay. So it has been. Well, I haven't seen it here in Melbourne at all.
No.
It might have been done at the production company.
Yeah, like a long time ago, maybe. Yeah. I mean, again, like it's one of those things where, and even when they brought it back, I don't know, Erin, when it came back in 2006, did it have a long run or what was the run like then? Because it had been like the longest running off-Broadway show or something. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah. So I had a pretty long run. I mean, I left, to do other things and it went on without me. So.
And so then do you recommend other harpists when you leave or do you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
I picked my subs and etc. Yeah.
I mean, I guess with your instrument being so specific and, I mean, I guess you must wielding power sounds wrong, but I mean, you must have a good collaboration with your music directors in terms of finding the other musicians that are going to fit the bill.
Yeah. It was up to me to pick my subs. And then when they came in, obviously, if they didn't do a good job, the musical director, who's the pianist, Dorothy Sinclair, she would have just been like, whoop. But I picked good people.
Oh, wow. I love that. I think personally, Broadway original cast should have a say in who their successor is, I think. Because, they're going to pick someone that's a little bit older and a little less pretty.
I don't know if the producers are going to agree with you.
Oh, I know. Goodness me. Anyways, we're going to move on because it looks like the Fantasticks have come unstuck. So we're going to go to an ad break.
G'day listeners, Aaron here. While you're topping up your coffees, did you know that you can support our show and go on a fantastically scary adventure at the same time? Go to www.thetonistonTales.com/bookstore to grab your copy of The Toniston Tales, a darkly funny Aussie trilogy about a young boy who rescues injured animals in his spare time and the roller coaster ride he's taken on by a literal fish out of water. Written by me, the village idiot of Thrash and Treasure, you'll come to love Toniston Turnbull and the dozens of wacky characters that he meets along the way. And here is a sneak peek. After barely 3 hours of light sleep, Toniston Turnbull slowly opens his eyes, his body feeling heavier than it ever has before. Not from extra weight, from tiredness and stress. Polly sighs in the shadows behind him, the flame of the nearest barbed wire tiki torch tower having died down, but not out, while Toniston napped. "Are you awake?" Toniston whispers. "Oh, how can I sleep in this place?" Polly moans, turning onto her side and facing Toniston, who stays on his back, imagining obscure animal-esque shapes in the rusted tin roof above them, shadows faintly formed by the nearest dying torches. "We need to work out a way to get out of here," Toniston states the obvious. He whispers despite the fact the nearest shacks to their own are several meters away, and the occupants presumably asleep, as most prisoners seem to be. "How? There's no fence to squeeze through, or even climb," Polly replies, sitting up in bed and then stretching out her sore arms. The hairs stand on end from the slight chill in the air. "I don't know, but I think the whole fighting thing is a distraction." "You mean to distract the other prisoners when new ones arrive?" "No, I think that was just bad timing. Didn't you notice?" Toniston goes on to explain his theory. "That fight happened, everybody gathered around. I didn't see one person who wasn't watching, and then when I vomited, the only gate in this place closed shut." "What are you trying to say?" "I think something happened when everyone's back was turned." "Like what?" whispers Polly, her voice breaking up in fear. "I don't know. That's what we've got to find out." Toniston's brain starts working overtime, but it's strange that nobody seems to want to leave. They seem almost happy. Definitely content. So, when's the next one of those stupid beatdowns? Toniston can't help but think Polly looks tough, almost evil in the shadows as she asks. "I don't know," Toniston begins. But both teenagers are distracted by a crumbling noise in the distance. Hopping out of bed, Toniston joins Polly on her own, equally uncomfortable one, spotting a large, white package hovering close to the cave ceiling, behind it a shadowy figure. The package is lowered down, causing the teenagers themselves to lower as well, hoping not to be spotted by whom or what may be operating this obscure crane. Over a long, slow descent, the package is dropped to the ground. Polly keeps her eyes on it, but Toniston looks up immediately, spotting a large black shadow scurry away to God only knows where. "Come," he whispers, as he quietly hops off her bed, slipping into his docks with bare feet. Polly follows his lead. Careful to keep watch on all directions, the teenagers swiftly sneak over to the white package, their hearts beating an almost tribal jam in perfect harmony, and stopping in their tracks as the sudden realization of what lies before them sinks in. A woman, seemingly in her early 20s, wrapped up in bandages from the neck down. No, not bandages. "Is that spider web?" Polly asks, completely mortified at the prospect. Grab your copy of the Toniston Tales from thetonistonTales.com/bookstore today. Hooroo! Alright, you're listening to Thrash and Treasure. I'm Aaron, that's Matt, and we are back with the formidably talented Erin Hill.
Woohoo!
And goodness gracious me. And now playing the harp, you've obviously played to some big crowds over time. Also being in the crowd, when was the last time everyone else gave a standing ovation, but you stayed seated?
Oh, I don't remember. I usually am seeing shows with people I know and friends. So obviously I would be standing.
Yep, you feel bad and you've got to stand. Yep.
Well, usually I'm standing because it's my friend and they did great.
I know.
If it were a show in which I didn't know anyone and I
Yeah.
didn't have any friends in it and I didn't like it, I would certainly never stand up.
Good on you.
My kind of lady. I love that. it feels so regimental these days. There's no feeling behind it. It's meant to be excitement, and it makes me uncomfortable now because it's sort of like this is the part where we stand up and applaud because it's the end. No. When they blew you the hell away, that's when you stand up. But anyways, Broadway audiences are changing, and apparently I'm left behind. Now, is there any instrument that you cannot master?
Yes, this is my question as well.
Oh, we should have verified that.
Well, I have always been able to play any instrument that I picked up, and I played with the Fab Four for a lot of years, a Beatles band. So a show would come up, and it's like, we need this. So I would work on mastering it for, that part or whatever. And then there came a time several years ago when all of a sudden I was like, you know what? I don't want to spend any more time working on different or new instruments. I want to focus on the harp because my time and energy is going to be better spent working on new songs and arrangements with the harp. So I just quit that. So now it's all about the harp.
How old were you when you started the harp?
8 years old.
8 years old. And so, do you have to go through different sizes of harp depending on your...
Yes.
Yes, great. Your harp is built for your physicality, is that right?
No. There aren't that. Pedal harps, there are really only two sizes. Basically, a 3/4 size and the full size. The full size you see in the classical orchestras, and my harp is a 3/4 size electric harp, which is really my rock and roll harp. And it's amazing. And I don't need the classical orchestra harp. I don't need it to be any bigger than it is. Oh my gosh.
Do you take your harp on the subway? I can just picture you.
No. Never, ever, ever. You couldn't possibly do that. You have a harp dolly. Yeah.
Is it like the opening credits of the Flintstones where he puts the giant stake on top of the car and it falls over? That's what I imagine, a big giant harp, and you just fall over lopsided.
It'd be like that. Exactly like that.
Now, but onto movies. What is your favorite Disney animated movie in honor of our poster and Hercules currently on?
Oh, I'm going to have to tell you, when I was little, like 6 or something, my parents took me to Bambi, and I was traumatized in the first 10 minutes of the show. The mom dies, and
it'll do it.
I refused to ever go see another Disney movie again. So I was done with Disney forever.
Oh,
I did see Beauty and the Beast, and I enjoyed it.
Yep.
And that's it. That's all I have to say about Disney.
My heart breaks. Oh, anyways, now one thing I found really interesting is there's not too many male harpists.
Correct.
Like Harpo Marx was about the only male harpist I came across.
Well, Park Stickney is an amazing jazz harpist. He's fantastic. But yeah, you're right. There aren't many men. Historically, there have been some, Salzedo and, others. So I don't know. But yeah, I'm not sure why.
Yeah, a bit of a girls' club.
Yeah.
Not complaining, not saying it's a bad thing at all. I actually kind of love that. Yeah, I found that interesting, so I thought I'd bring that up. That, yeah.
Well, people think angels play harps and, men are devils, so I don't know, maybe that.
Yeah, I mean, there is I don't know, you sort of picture delicacy or delicate, and you don't really picture, Matt sitting there at a thing with his broad shoulders playing a harp, unless that's your idea of delicate. No offense.
Yeah, of course. That's why when I do my harp oddity, it's not exactly delicate. My rock and roll harp, yeah.
More so the vibe that you get if you walk into a room and you hear it. You don't picture a rock and roller straight away. You do. It's common misogyny of society, I guess, that we immediately think of a female when...
Yeah.
In a white flowing gown with, sort of like the long hair.
Like an angel.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
That is society's subconscious misogyny, apparently.
Yeah.
But male harpists out there, rise up. It's going to be more of you, surely. Now, Live Aid, I believe you did. Did you do Live Aid with Kanye?
You're thinking of Live Earth.
Live Earth, that's it. Live Aid, I don't know which one that was. Live Earth, which city did you do?
New York City.
New York. Oh, okay, that's all right. Then I was just sussing that out.
And guess who was at that show after us? Kelly Clarkson.
Oh, see, it all comes around.
That's where I hear harps. The heavens open, and I hear angels and harps, and the light shines down, and Kelly Clarkson. Oh, that's it. Okay, that's all right. I had a follow-up question if it was Brazil, but never mind. What was the naughtiest you were as a pre-teen? Not a teenager, because then we deal with people can be punished for that, but a pre-teen when you were innocent, the naughtiest you were.
Oh boy. I wasn't ever really naughty. I just I had a temper and I threw temper tantrums when I was little. So I guess that's it. I mean, I don't have this red hair for nothing. I have a temper.
Exactly. Now, do you find participation ribbons healthy or toxic?
Participation ribbons?
Yep.
You mean like you get a ribbon because you showed up?
Yep.
Complete freaking bullshit.
Yes. Now, what is your favorite film scores? Because I know you love movies.
The Third Man and Vertigo.
Mm.
I also like The Shining. It's one of my favorite movies. And of course, I have to include Gone with the Wind. Whoa. Talk about a theme. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I watched that the other day on TV. It's such an amazing film.
I love it so much. It's in my top 10. I've seen it 20 times.
That's a
Oh,
lot of hours too.
Yeah.
What's 20 times 4.5?
over my entire life. You know.
Yeah, goodness gracious me. It's about as much time as I've lost to the MCU. Okay, now what's the most visceral reaction you've had being in the audience of live theatre that you've walked away shaking or just your life was changed by that one performance?
It's like I remember with movies, but with live.
Movies, that's fine. We'll go with movies as well.
Okay. Live theater is harder.
I had a very visceral reaction to Cabaret, which I believe you were in with
Oh,
Alan,
thank you. Thank you.
especially when he sort of went behind the sheet and they did the shadow puppets.
That was me.
That was you.
That was me. Yeah.
Oh,
That was
wonderful.
fun. Two ladies.
For the audience that doesn't know what we're talking about, in Two Ladies, they sort of went behind the sheet, and it was a sort of a shadow puppet sort of show, and acted out several different
Sex acts.
sex acts, exactly, which caused a big like from many a person in the audience. It was not the cabaret it was not Liza Minnelli's Cabaret at that point. It was like, whoa.
Right. And the other lady in Two Ladies was a man, Michael O'Donnell.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It did play here in Melbourne. I think Tina Arena was in it and Lisa McCune for Australian audiences.
Mm.
I missed it. And I am forever kicking myself that was just one production that's come to Melbourne that I missed, and because a lot has come to Melbourne and I missed it. That's fine. I'll get to see it one day, but I missed that cabaret here in Melbourne.
Erin, did you move with the show when it moved to 54? Or how long were you in the show? Because it was in the theater that Urinetown was in, right?
Yes, you're correct. The Henry Miller. I left the show to do Tim Robbins's film Cradle Will Rock. So I did Cradle Will Rock, and then it moved to Studio 54, and I did come back and do it again at Studio 54 for a little bit.
Cool. I probably saw you in it a couple of times because I lived in New York at the time, and that was one of my favorite shows. So I used to usher at 54 because you could actually see it for free to usher.
But anyways, your albums. Is there any chance we're going to get a death metal cover album?
No.
No? Oh, no.
No chance.
Oh, so you're headbanging at the... Oh, God, I shouldn't do that. I'm going to put my neck out.
But my 70s album will have some Aerosmith, but...
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh, that's hard rock.
Yeah.
Now, looking at the state of entertainment today, where we've got, TikTok, that someone can just do a little sketch on TikTok and suddenly they've got 1 million followers.
And they lip sync. They're just lip syncing to something.
Yeah. When you sit back and look at the state of all this today, do you think if you were, say, 20 years old today, that you would still be as ambitious in wanting to master all these instruments and do all this stuff?
I would, because I did it, all my instruments and everything, because it was fun, When I originally did it, I wasn't doing it for anything,
Exactly. There was no TikTok, was there? You couldn't... Oh, my God.
Yeah.
We did it because there was a love of it.
Yeah.
We do art because there's a love of it, not a love of the followers.
Yeah.
Oh, I get so passionate about this. Yeah. When was the last time you jumped in puddles?
I just rewatched Singing in the Rain, by the way.
Oh.
Speaking of that, I have to say I cry that number starts, I basically cry from the beginning to the end and have joy suffused in my crying face.
Yeah.
I just love it. So, oh yeah, I often jump in puddles. Probably just the other day last time it rained.
Yes.
Brilliant.
Now I've just got one more question, so I'll throw to you, Matt. Have you got any?
I've asked all of my questions. Okay, I feel put on the spot.
Sorry, yes, you're on the spot right now. Go. This is entertainment.
What's the first theater show you remember seeing, and did it change your life?
Well, when I was little, in Louisville, there's a great theater called Actors Theater of Louisville, and my dad had season tickets, and my dad and I went to every single show at
lovely.
Actors Theater. I still don't remember exactly where our tickets were as our season holder tickets, and so I just grew up seeing all the shows there. I loved them all. There were amazing, amazing shows. And basically, all of them changed my life because I decided to become an actor.
Beautiful. Thanks. Shout out to Actors Theater of Louisville.
Yeah.
And you weren't sitting there looking at a phone watching fucking TikTok. Anyway, sorry, just had to throw that in there.
Correct.
Okay, now how many proposals have you witnessed while playing the harp or any of your instruments?
Yes, I have done some proposals.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know, maybe 50.
Yeah. Have you cried at all when you've seen any? Have any brought you to tears?
No.
No. Yeah, no, wouldn't me either. Bugger off. I don't want to see your happiness. Go away. I'm trying to play. Anyways, so actually, how many solo albums do you have? Because I'm not sure they're all available here in Australia on Spotify.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, the recent ones are Christmas Harp, so beautiful Christmas album, Harp Town, which is all covers, everything from Edith Piaf to Radiohead.
Okay, can I just butt in there? I joke the whole ballad thing. I listen to your Someone Like You, Erin. Let's chalk it up to I'm very, very, very tired at the moment, but I sat there and I burst into tears because it was so fucking beautiful for one thing. But I really just am so overtired at the moment that it was this wash of emotions. And I listen to things very loudly in my room and surround sound and the harmonies in there. Are you singing with someone or is that your double voice?
That's my voice. And on the original Adele recording, there are no harmonies. But when I did it, I wanted to add harmony. So thank you for noticing those.
Yeah, you knocked me over.
Oh, I also have a music video of that song. So you
I will check that out.
probably want to look on YouTube. Yeah, but thank you.
When I've had more sleep, because I really am just, as I said, I've just had not much sleep lately, and it really just washed over me. It was just one of those moments, and I'm not here to kiss people's asses on this show, but I will call a spade and tell someone when you did a good job, and you did a bloody good job with that one.
Well, if I made you cry, I did my job.
Yes, that's it. You're not the first guest to make me cry, and I think I've made at least one guest cry too, so we're all winning. And I'm sure our listeners cry every week from boredom. Anyways, it's been fantastic having you on, Erin. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Guys, it's been a long while with your scheduling.
Thank you,
Look,
Erin.
we've had some postponements with a lot of our guests over time, but I know that, as I say, there is only a handful of harpists at 1,000,001 podcasts. So when they're calling you, do not turn down them for us. No way in hell. Like they need you. They need you. So I'm so grateful for joining us. Really, it has been such a pleasure.
Such a pleasure. Such a pleasure.
Thank you for a fun afternoon. Mwah, mwah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Where can people find you on the socials?
Oh, thanks for asking. Erin Hill Harp, ErinHillHarp for harp. Erin Hill Harp on Instagram and YouTube, etc. And then Spotify and all those. Just look for Erin Hill and make sure you get the one with Harp Town. I think there's some others. Let me say, you were asking about the albums. Let me just mention also Girl Inventor, because Girl Inventor is my album of originals, and they're all sci-fi originals.
Ooh, that's excellent.
sci-fi harp songs.
Cool.
Wonderful. Yes, but it is absolutely gorgeous. And I would say I hope to see you on the ocean one day on a cruise ship, but apparently I'm never going to see you on an ocean on a cruise ship.
But you might on a starship.
Maybe I'll make it to Australia sometime.
Yes, please do. Please come here and play. We've got the Art Centre, we've got the Sydney Opera House, and if you're in Melbourne, I'll definitely be harvesting for opening night tickets.
Would love to.
Yes, you hear that, producers in Melbourne? Goodness gracious me, get all my
Yes.
guests over here so I can give them all a high five for coming on my show. So thank you so much. That's it from us. Huge thanks again to Erin Hill for joining us. That was awesome. I am just absolutely in awe still. Now you can find Matt on the socials at Matt Young Actor, one word, MATTYOUNG ACTOR. I will link to all that stuff below in the details. You can find us at Thrash and Treasure or at Thrash and Treasure Podcast. Again, look below for the details there. Also, you can find us on Patreon if you want to support us and keep us going. Patreon.com/Blooming Theatricals. Also, buy the Toniston Tales, read the Toniston Tales. Let me know what you thought of the Toniston Tales, even if you hated it, because, you know, my own mum did, and that was fine. I still love her. Anyways, please comment, like, subscribe to this show, leave a rating, tell your friends, help us grow. That'll be awesome. We're going to take a couple of weeks off because we've just done 6 episodes in a row, and I'm very, very tired. So there's not going to be a new episode next week or next weekend. There will be the weekend after that. Oh, and Matt will be back next as well. And then I'm going to try to do it in sort of 6 episode blocks. Take a break. 6 more episodes. Take a break. Who knows how that's going to work out. But I am very, very, very tired. You could just hear it through that whole episode. There was no energy there. But anyways, be good to each other. You take care, and we shall see you next time. Hooroo!
Okay. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Like Quixon!